Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. Come to think of it, those two had never called each other by their names until now. Jessica hadn't known Cannon's true name. Cannon hadn't called Jessica by her name. When people call each other by name, they acknowledge the worth of the other's soul. That's why names are sacred. When you've been given permission to say someone's name, it means they've acknowledged your soul. Is that why Father wants me to call him by his name? No, that's probably wrong. When Father sees me, it reminds him of that other me, the past me, and I'm sure that me called Father by name. However, that probably doesn't mean Father would be happy to hear me call him by his name. After all, I am me, and not the Beatrice Father knows well. What can I do to help Father? How can I be useful to him? After all, that's the only reason I was born. Hanging her head, Beatrice sat all alone in the Golden Lands arbor next to the rose garden, and she was watched by the witch of theater-going and her Miko as they sat across from each other. Poor kid. I never thought I'd see you feel compassion for Beato. It'd be too cruel to call this Beato and the former Beato the same person. They're completely different people. It may be that by the rules. This Beato is the Beato. However, saying that would be horribly unfair to her. Battler must be very depressed to have things end up this way after reviving his former rival. I sort of get Oni-chan's despair, but I can understand how this kid feels too. No person can become a replacement for another, not even a past version of that same person. Compared to the young boy and girl who had found new versions of themselves by calling each other by their true names, this witch looked very feeble. The witch knew that she was an illusion created in the image of the person she once was, and she also knew that it would only hurt Battler if she were to try and pretend to be that person. And despite all of that, this Beato wants to be useful to Battler. How admirable. How admirable. I prefer admirable. Is that the purpose for the witch known as Beatrice? That is what she claims. She says that she was created to be of service to Battler. So, a Beato who was born for Oni-chan's sake eventually commits a serial murder and drags Oni-chan into a bizarre game that she calls eternal torture. I don't get it. I believe you also understand that one can become a different person over 1,000 years. At the very least, Beatrice was once a pure creature who was born for Battler's sake. It's also very clear in her current feeble state, she doesn't possess any of the courage or motivation needed to bring about such fearsome serial murders. That means the sinister witch we all know must have changed during the 1,000 years since her birth. we keep getting this 1,000 years business, but I get the feeling that those words are just a metaphor for a really long time in the world of witches. As you get closer to the world of gods, the concept of time becomes increasingly vague. 6 years can become 1,000, and 1,000 years can be nothing more than a quick nap. One can fit an eternity, long enough to be deserving of the title 100-year-old witch, in a mere 2 weeks. Rika Furude reference. In other words, the pure Beato transformed into the cruel Beato during 6 years that could be called 1,000. So, does that mean something bad happened during those 6 years that made her hate One-chan? That doesn't make sense. During those 6 years, One-chan not only stayed away from Rokkenjima, he even stopped using the Ushiromian name. This kind of reminds me of Albedo from Overlord. I don't know if it'll ever be addressed in the anime ever. I don't even know if the author of the manga, of the light novel, will ever finish it. Technically, he only has 2 more volumes to go that are supposed to end the series. And technically the anime's done most of it. Now, granted, he's done some side novels of it, doing some backstory stuff, but he said that he's not really planning on doing any more of that stuff either. So, one is a side story where Ainz goes from Yggdrasil to the New World, but doesn't bring Nazarick or any of the Floor Guardians, and is literally just by himself, also in a point 200 years earlier in that timeline. And some side stories of Ainz doing stuff with Hamtaro and other stuff like that, and exploring the region, and some side stories, but nothing that's supposed to be major. Now, in order to animate where we're at in the series, the next thing they're doing, if the anime were to go with it, would be there's Ainz's trip into the Elf Kingdoms, where he takes Aura and Mare. Now, of course, like I said, beyond that, there's a lot of cut content. I mean, heck, I haven't watched the Umineko anime, but I heard that a lot of people hate it because they feel that it's just a fragment of the overall story, that it skips so much. And there's a lot of extra stuff, and of course some things just don't translate well into a visual medium. After all, movies and TV shows and episodes have to have different pacing. But one thing is this. Albedo is one of 3 sisters. We've seen one of her sisters very early on, Nigredo, but we have yet to even see a visual representation, even in fan art. The author has done his own art and stuff showing what all the characters look like back even when it was just a light novel. That's after all. But there's Rubedo, which is said to be the strongest and most powerful of all the Floor Guardians. Now, technically, Albedo is very powerful when it comes to certain things. And of course, Shalltear has like the highest offensive power, and Demiurge certainly has his abilities. Each of them, like all of the Floor Guardians, certainly have things that would make them uniquely formidable compared to the others. And I would say a fight, a one-on-one fight between any of the floor guardians, no matter who you chose, no one would have a clear advantage. Not that any of them would really want to fight each other. But it is said that Rubedo was created as a broken character. And by that I mean they glitched and pushed a lot of stats much higher than should be possible. It's also said that one of the supreme beings that was in Ainz's guild was actually murdered by the government. Now, why that happened, don't know. It doesn't have anything to do with Yggdrasil or any of the stuff of other human players making it to earlier parts of the world. Heck, we're getting .hack. They're making a new Sword Art Online game later this year. And next year we're getting a new .hack game. Though technically the new Sword Art game will be granted, Kirito will still be in it. But this will be the first one where he is an essential part of the story. To where your own created avatar, it's your story. Now .hack 0 continues on from the same storyline of the .hack franchise. Aura is still there. Now, technically, the game will come out in 2027. The inner game world is supposed to take place during 2036, but we are getting the game in 2027. That being said, one thing is this. While you can question the origins of Albedo and the others in terms of sentience, two things can be said very clearly. One, Albedo and the other NPCs, their emotions and feelings are real. And to them, they have memories of all the time of Yggdrasil that feel just as real to them as a memory does to us. Which means everything is as if they lived it. Everything is completely real to them. I got distracted. I was staring at boobs. I don't know if you can see the mouse, but just, cleavage, side boob, and just... Anyway, as I was saying, before I'm staring at Angie's boobs now. Now it's her thighs. Now it's her boobs. Now I'm reminded of my favorite Pokemon, Paizurimon, as I picture Angelmon from Digimon in my mind. Now I'm imagining lewd things with Featherine Augustus Aurora. So, try to remember what I was talking about. Another thing is this, Albedo has a secret hit squad. It's never been addressed in the anime. At all, ever. But the purpose is to secretly look for other supreme beings. Particularly the other ones from Nazarick, and to kill them. Because two things are on Albedo's mind. One, if any of the other supreme beings ever show up, they might take Momonga. They might take Ainz away. Two, she is absolutely pissed and angry at them because she feels that they all abandoned her, the other guardians, Nazarick, and most of all, she feels they abandoned Ainz. So, as a fear of having Ainz taken away, and an anger at feeling abandoned and betrayed herself, feeling that Nazarick was abandoned and betrayed, feeling her other guardians were abandoned and betrayed, the feeling that Ainz, that Momonga, was abandoned and betrayed. That being said, there are only 2 more volumes left in the series before Overlord is finished. 17 and 18. Now that being said, it is currently March 14th, a Saturday, 2026, 10:29 a.m. America time. And yet, Volume 17 was supposed to come out of June of last year. It was supposed to come out in 2025, in early June. And yet it's going on a year later. Still has not released. Now, as far as we understand, Volume 17 will be predominantly about Ainz and all of Nazarick going to war against the slain theocracy, after all. Now, of course, again, the volumes before that about Ainz's trip to the Elf Kingdoms, and where they even wind up fighting someone named Zeshian, actually recruit her into Nazarick. And this is a person who's a former person of the slain theocracy, but a person who was not there of their own volition. And after having her mind read and all that stuff, it becomes very clear. The slain theocracy was the ones who used a world item to brainwash and control Shoutier. For that alone, Ainz would burn and destroy everyone in the slain theocracy, especially those who would be responsible, don't get off of just death. So that would be Volume 17, I would imagine. Now, depending on how much is in that, whether or not that'd be its own season or not. I imagine if there's going to be a Season 5, or 4, 5, I'd imagine Season 5 would just be the Elf Kingdom. And I don't know if they'll ever animate the side novels or the Vampire Lost Kingdom arc, which is technically, while it's still considered canon, it's not part of the main timeline of the story. Heck, technically Escape from Nazarick, the game that I Let's Played, is actually considered canon, and it's considered part of the story, which means we might see Clementine again at some point, possibly even in Volume 17. And if not, possibly 18. That being said, I'd imagine Volume 17 would end all the slain theocracy stuff and would probably wrap that up. So we have the stuff with slain theocracy, and of course you have other stuff like Platinum Dragon and stuff like that. But Volume 18 is supposed to end it. And there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, such as, how and why did Nazarick go to that world? What's going on in the physical world where Satoru, the human name for the player, who is Momonga, what happened to his body? And provided the world doesn't end, we should have an ending to that by 2030. But like I said, Volume 17 was supposed to come out a year ago. And as far as I'm aware, it has not come out. I'd imagine if they do try to streamline stuff, that maybe the Elf Kingdom and the Slain Theocracy War could both be done in Season 5. And then Volume 18, which would be whatever it is to wrap up this series, well, that could probably be like a 3-hour long movie. Or its own season in itself, I don't know. Or maybe they both could be movies, I don't know. Maybe just 3 movies, I don't know. I have no, if it's ever, maybe it'll never be animated. But you guys get what I'm trying to say. He had nothing to do with that change. Again, I still say Kairi looks like Ivy from Soul Calibur 2. She also looks like Kaoru from Evangelion. She also looks like Saray the VTuber. Her hatred has got to be totally misguided. Oh, so this is where you were. Shall I make you some black tea? Kumasawa-san? There's something I'd like to know. Ho-ho? Very well, what is it? My name is Beatrice, isn't it? Yes, that is correct. You are Beatrice-sama, milady. However, the Beatrice that Father talks about isn't me. Well, I think Father wanted me to be that person. I think that might be why he was disappointed, because no matter how much I looked like her, I am a different person. That isn't true. You are you, Beatrice-sama herself. You have merely lost your memory of the past after being newly reborn. Even without your memory, you are still Beatrice-sama. You are the same person whom the Master loves. So then, how can I regain those memories? Well, Beato looked at Kumasawa with hopeful eyes, as though praying that she would tell her the way. Kumasawa averted her gaze unhelpfully, as though trying to say that she'd like to, if only such a way existed. If I can't regain those memories, can't you at least tell me what kind of person the Beatrice Father loved was? That much I can tell you, but I was born for Father's sake. So I want to become the Golden Witch Beatrice that Father desires. But Beatrice-sama, I cannot use magic. However, if the witch Father desires could use it, then I will learn. I want to become the witch he desires. That's the only way I can repay Father for creating me. That's admirable. Without the 1,000 years gone wrong, she really is an incredible kid. A chick of a witch. Very interesting. I've taken a liking to her, Angie. I shall allow this chick to make use of my library. Let us open the door that leads back to the world of witches. So, you're going to make her read aloud the stories about her previous self. Yes, I want to know too. The creation story of the Golden Witch Beatrice. We'll end the video there. I hope everyone had a good day. Thanks for joining me. And even though I'm a bit of a tsundere, I appreciate you stopping by. I hope all of you have all the hugs and head pats you could ever want or need. And if I could, I'd give you a hug myself. Till next time, bye.